and then you come to a spot, and you click a button, and you can watch the video. And then you would just move on. Somebody actually phrased it perfectly as they called it living illustrations, in the sense that we've had illustrations for quite a while, you know, since post-Gutenberg, but these are living illustrations, and that's one thing to do. Another project that I worked on is there's an author who's a middle grade book author named Dan Ellish, who had a book that had also gone out of print for him called The Worldwide Dessert Contest. And he is also he writes musicals as well. And he had an entire musical score that went with the book. So we took his book and we put it together, and now you can go along and you read the story, and you hit a particular point, and you can listen to the songs that go with it. Another project that I did actually went backwards, and that I'm working right now with someone who created a web series, which I don't know if you've heard, a lot of people are making their own series and they're putting them on the web. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take their content, the video content that already exists, and we're going to write a story around that, and we're going to package that and put that out as an ebook. So it can work both ways. And optimally, it's best to work with a partner, because they already have the video content. That's a sunk cost. They've already paid for it, it's done. So to create another revenue stream for them, to make a book, everything is a plus after that. As I always tell people, the worst thing that will happen is nothing. You won't lose anything. The best thing that will happen is you'll have a whole other revenue stream that's opened up for your product. Now, about two years ago, I was at Comic-Con. And after the panels, another author came up to me and she said, you know, I would really love to do my books as enhanced ebooks, but I've priced out all these tech guys and they're really, really expensive. So what do you do? And I said, well, I sleep with my tech guy. It's okay, we're married. And in fact, he just came in. And so he's here. Thank you. Very good. And so he's actually here, and he can answer sort of the very hardcore technical questions that you may have about how it's built. First, I'll talk a little bit about the legalities and the video and that sort of thing. Now, the first thing is, if you own your book, and it was published by somebody else, you must get your rights back. You cannot assume that just because it's been out of print for 10 or 15 or 20 years that you have the e-rights. You cannot assume that just because the contract was written at the time that there was no such thing as e-rights, that you have the e-rights. You must write a letter to you or your agent or a lawyer, but you don't need a lawyer. You don't need a lawyer, you don't need an agent. You just need to write a very simple letter where the format is, I am the author of such and such, here is my book, here is the ISBN number, publish then. If this book has been out of print, they have to return your rights to you. That's just all there is to it. If it's been more recent, they can start getting nitpicky, but anything that's older than, say, 10 years, and if they haven't been actively publishing it, they have to give you your rights back. Don't let anybody tell you that they can't. It might take a while.
And what about if you've done articles, but you want to put those articles together with a theme in a book?
Who owns, did you do them for a magazine?
I did them for a website, and they were, I looked at the contract before I came, as a matter of fact. Even though I wrote for them for 2 or 3 years, the contract was really only for the first year, and it said all rights, but it said the contract only was for a year. So, and I continued writing after that.
Yeah, I mean, I always say get it in writing just because it makes life easier. With magazines, it's a little trickier. Did you give them syndication rights?
I think one of those contracts was one of these, like, you know, intergalactic.
Because it might be one of the things, for instance, there's one website that I write for regularly where it says, I have reprint rights, but I have to say first published in. So you might want to find out what the exact language is. Okay. Now, when it comes to the other, if you self-publish them, they're yours. Yes. No problem. You don't owe anything to anyone, except we're now going to talk about the enhanced elements and who owns the rights to that. If you can make a deal with someone like I did with Ice Theater of New York, they own the rights to their video, now I have the rights to it. If you want to link to other content that might be in the public domain, content that might be on YouTube, content that just might be out there, what I'm going to tell you now is only good until the next time some law gets passed. You know, SOPA and everything else that we're talking about. I consulted with a professor at Harvard who is an expert in this, and this is what he told me. HTML code is not copyright infringement. if in your text you put a link to something that is not, as of today, copyright infringement. What it will be tomorrow, I cannot tell anybody. But as of today, HTML code is not copyright infringement. On the other hand, you cannot take a picture of Venus de Milo that a photographer took and put it in your text. You can put a link to that photo. You cannot put in that photo without permission. You cannot put in that video without permission. You cannot put in that music without permission. Even if it's up on YouTube. The fact is YouTube has a lot of legal content. So, I mean, hate to break it to people. So that's the issue there. Now, that said, I have done projects. I did one project because I did come from Procter & Gamble and soap operas, and I did have a lot of contact with writers and actors. We put together a book that was sort of a best of moments. And it was actors talking about their favorite scenes, directors talking about their favorite scenes, writers talking about their favorite scenes. All that is original material. All the interviews that I did is fine. And then I put a link to the scene, but I cannot put in the scene itself. That, again, please heed that this is only today. I do not know what is going to be done tomorrow.
The link to the scene, if it opens up, let's suppose someone opens up on a computer and then there's a preview, you know, like in that local thing that it sees the link and then at the local computer it goes out and it gets a preview of it. That's still because it's now outside of your work. It's now outside of your work.
It's going to open up in a different window. It's going to be somewhere else.
Okay, good. Thanks.
But again, I cannot stress enough that is only today. This is exactly what people are debating and what it will be. Okay. So, the next thing, Scott, come on up. And Scott, everyone. So, yes.
I have a question. What is it about a small publishing house that legally disappears, no longer exists and have?
In theory, if the house has ceased to exist, you have your rights back. Did it completely cease to exist, or did it just stop publishing and still exist as an entity? Because there might be someone who still owns the backlist.
I don't know. I should find out.
That's what you should find out. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about the fact what happens. This is what I do. I take what you might need to do if your book is in print and you do not have an e-file of that book. You may need to have that book scanned. You can send it to a service that will either literally rip it and scan each page and send it to you as a file, or you can do it yourself and then you have to painstakingly go through it and copy edit it. You could hire someone to do that, or you could do it yourself. That becomes up to you. What I can tell you is I'm in the process of going through and copy editing and formatting a book right now that was published by a major publisher, Simon & Schuster, and I'm going through it and I see mistakes and I go, surely that mistake couldn't have been in the initial manuscript, and I opened it up and it's right there in the published book. So don't let anybody tell you that big publishers never make mistakes or never make errors. I'm sure everyone here can tell you they've found missing words and repeated words and broken up paragraphs and all of that. So you have to proof it in any case. But there's services that will scan this for you. This will require money up front, or this is something you can do yourself, which will take time and be painstaking. Maybe you can ask another person, another pair of eyes is always good. And then once that's done, it gets converted into a technical file. Tell us about it.
One thing that's actually good about ebooks is they're actually based on the same technology they use for websites. So if you have a friend who built a website for you, there's a possibility that they can build an ebook for you. So basically, when you have a table of contents inside of your ebook, those are actually just links that you would have on a website, except they're into internal pages. There's a way to link inside of a page. And what I like to do is I actually like to take the entire manuscript as one large file, and then I just put in anchor links, and then it all goes faster. But a lot of other people, they'll break it up. Each chapter will be a separate HTML page, and then they'll have one page, the table of contents, with a link to all of those pages. The reason I'm telling you this detail is not so that you can go out and do it, so that you'd have an idea of what skills the person that you partner with will do it. As you can tell, we're really big about no upfront costs because we don't know if you're going to get it back. You know, you don't want to drop, you know, $2,000 having somebody building this for you. And if you want to start with, there's some very simple tools that you could actually use to start building ebooks simply. There's this one called Calibra, and it runs on the Mac and it runs on Windows. And it does a pretty good job of taking a file that is a Word file, or you output it to an RTF file, which is a simpler version, and it does a reasonable job of converting it. So if you're just doing something simple, let's say you just want to have an information pamphlet as an ebook, let's say it's a few pages, and let's say your idea is I want to have an ebook that links to a bunch of interviews that I have up on the web. You know, you could put it in, you could put the internal links, you could run it through the program, and it'll turn it into a simple ebook. And then as you get more comfortable with the program, you can put in your covers, and you get a lot of power out of it. You know, if nothing else, you can take content and you can put it onto your own Kindle, and once you do that, you start feeling like, oh wait, this is something I can handle. And then you realize, oh, well, but I can't handle it all. I need somebody who can do graphics. I need somebody who can make a nice cover. And if you go on Amazon, they actually have some very excellent specs. They have this huge Amazon digital publishing guide, and it's about 140 pages of really detailed information that you could hand off to a technical person who could read through it, and then they would be able to say, oh, this is the file format that you need for your JPEGs. JPEG is your image. This is the character encoding that you should use for your HTML file so that your quotes actually come out as quotes and not as strange characters. There's, what was I thinking? Oh yeah, it talks about if you actually want to embed video of your own, it tells you what file format it needs to be. Usually it's MP4. Basically almost anything that works with HTML, what they call HTML5, will work in an ebook. But just because you can build an ebook that has an embedded video file or an embedded audio file doesn't mean that you can sell it. Because as of this time, the Amazon self-publishing, Smashwords, they do not allow you to embed video into your books. So what actually happened with our earlier books is we actually had all of video embedding, so you would have one file, you would be able to download it, and you would be able to read it anywhere. We basically found with Kindle Direct Publishing, they were not allowing you to upload video files, and they were basically only allowing large publishers to do that. So at this time, linking out to having your file on YouTube or having a file on your website is probably the best bet if you're doing self-publishing.
Is that the same if they own the video or they
Yes.
own the audio? It's just across the board?
Yes.
It's the larger corporation?
Yeah, they're only allowing the larger corporations to embed. And what's actually very interesting is a lot of the technical stuff you'll see, they'll talk about these really expensive programs like FrameMaker and all this other stuff. All these big expensive programs are just turning them to HTML files. So if you have somebody who could do a little bit of HTML and they can hand code a site, they can do an ebook. They probably don't know they can do an ebook because they haven't really investigated it. But you need to just sit down, investigate it, and do the work.
Well, I was also going to talk about for formats. For Kindle, you need to be a MOBI.
Oh, right.
file.
Oh,
Talk
very
a
good.
little bit about it.
What's nice, there's all these different formats and everyone pretends they're different, but they're really all the same. They're all HTML files wrapped up in a different container. So you have EPUB, which is used by everybody except for Amazon. And but Amazon actually had a technical reason for it because they originally started with this format called MOBIs, which were designed to be really small and really compact so that you could read them on a Palm Pilot. If people remember Palm Pilots 15 years ago, and so that file format, if you actually have a book made for a Palm Pilot, you can actually look at it in the Amazon Reader, and so that's pretty nice. One way you could actually find out a lot about a book, if you download, let's say, a free ebook, and it's a .epub, change the file extension from EPUB to .zip, to a zip file, and unzip it. Because that's actually what an EPUB is it's actually a whole bunch of HTML files zipped up together. And so once you know that, you could actually build your books backwards. You could say, wow, here's a book, here's the cover. And this is actually what I did, is I unzipped this. I then took out and said, okay, here's a cover, replace this image with my image, put my image there, call it cover.jpg. And then you could basically rezip it and you could come up to, but you don't want to do that. You're the creative people. You're the writers. Alrighty? So don't waste your time doing that, but you want to be able to talk reasonably with a technical person. Okay? And so you want to understand that you can basically take an EPUB in Calibra, that program that I mentioned, and you can turn it into a Mobi file so you can read it on your Kindle. And vice versa. You could take your Kindle file, run it through that, and then have an EPUB. The most important thing is you have to get the devices. Okay? Just Friday, I bought myself the Kindle Fire. Why people are selling it? You need to know how your book is going to look and work on that device. They have Amazon actually has a nice one. It's called the. It's basically a viewer, and what was it?
The Kindle Reader.
It's called the Kindle Previewer. Thank you. Because it actually allows you to look at your Mobi file, then you're basically able on your computer to say, okay, show me what it's going to look like on an iPad. And then it changes its size to an iPad. Show me what it's going to look like on an iPhone. And it makes a little iPhone. Show me what it's going to look on a Kindle DX. And then it simulates that.
This is an Amazon product?
Yes, it's free. It's called the Amazon Previewer. Okay? Amazon, all of their tools are free and well documented. You have the Amazon Previewer, allows you to look at the files, and then they have their program called Kindle Gen, or Kindle Generator. It's actually a command line program that most people won't be comfortable using, but a lot of other programs actually have a front end for it and then use it. But the Amazon Previewer, everyone should have a copy of that, because you can just put the files on it and then you can look at it. And you might find that, for some projects, you might be able to take your Word document and you can put it through Calibra and say, hey, convert it into a Mobi. You look at it in Kindle Preview and say, hey, this isn't half bad.
How do you spell Calibra?
C-A-L, it's Cal, and then Libra, like library, L-I-B-R-E. Yeah. And it runs on both Macs and PCs and Linux machines.
How much is it?
Free.
Calibra's free?
Yep, free, open source.
That's
Did
our
I
favorite
explain
price.
that we're really not into...
That's why I'm confirming.
So, obviously it takes your time, but research, look and see what other people are doing. Say, what are you going to do? What are you going to bring to the table? And of course, the file formats keep evolving. So for example, the Kindle file format that I've been using is designed for the books and they self-layout. Well, now they have a more complicated one so they can have their comic books and they can have the picture here and the picture there. If the kind of writing you do involves a lot of pictures and it involves layout and typography, we're actually getting to the point where e-readers are going to be able to support that. Very cutting edge stuff. It uses what they call CSS3. It's a way of basically laying out things in HTML. Because the way HTML was originally designed is you would basically have a file and you would have the information, and the only thing in the file would say, this is my title, okay? This is, and this text should be larger than another. And then your browser or your e-reader then decides how you want to read it. And for people who have e-readers, I think one of the things that everyone loves is the fact that you really have that control. It's like, oh my God, I've been reading for 3 hours. This text is too small. You hit a button, it becomes a large format book, and you can read for another hour. It's very nice.
Are the prices of ebooks set by you? or
Yes.
by
Absolutely.
Kindle?
By
or-
you.
That's actually the next thing that, since we're done with the technical.
I'll hold my.
Okay. So, I mean, obviously, you know, she has her mailing list. Obviously, you're going to come up with specific questions. Feel free to contact us.
So if you have a choice, which you don't always have a choice,
Yes.
you would incorporate video inside one file and have it all on the device rather than going to the web?
I personally think that's the ideal way to do it. But until we have a way that we could actually sell that, we're going to have to wait on that.
I mean, nobody really wants to do that.
Yes, they do. They just want to leave it to the big publishers. Because Amazon, when you start thinking of it, YouTube's having all this trouble regulating its video content, right? Why would Amazon want to get into that business? You know, though I do think that they would actually have a much easier time because they actually have a person's name with their tax ID and they have an affidavit saying that they own it. And if somebody basically said this person is using my content, they'll say this is the person who did it, here, send them a letter. It has nothing to do with me. And they would actually have safe harbor provision. But you could also see how they wouldn't necessarily want to get into ebook porn and that level. So, I mean, you can understand why they're holding off on it for a bit.
You've been talking about self-publishing.
Yeah.
All this way. Okay.
Yes. This is through Kindle Direct Publishing.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people are actually going to have, what's actually nice about linking out is that it allows you to make a multimedia book that you could actually publish through Smashwords. Because you could put links into your Word doc, and then it basically, Smashwords will convert it for you, and then it'll link directly to what's out on the web. So
Forever with the same URL.
what I do is I actually take our URL and then I take the YouTube video that we have rights to, and then I embed it directly into that page. So let's say YouTube went out of business, I would then be able to, at that URL, put it up in another format.
That's the technical. Are there more technical questions?
Okay, this might cross boundaries here. There's all these different readers and different formats. Okay,
Right.
do you, as a regular practice, do you publish on all the readers all the time? Would you choose some readers in some markets? You know, doing this, given the technical work and the marketing stuff.
Right now, what we're doing is we're doing Kindle and we're doing Barnes & Noble. We're not doing iBooks because that becomes a whole different thing. Also, there's a developer fee.
Yeah, they have $99.
Yeah, there's a
upfront.
$99 developer fee on iPad, and we're what? Not big on upfront costs. Not to mention the fact that books on iBooks are just not selling as well as on Amazon. So it's not like they're a huge market that you're ignoring. People can do it. It's not something we're doing at this time.
Nobody's
You
in
could-
Google? Google's not on the radar yet?
Not really.
They don't
no.
have a device.
Yeah. You can get it on your iPad.
Well, I've got Alice in Wonderland.
Oh yes, we have some nice
Well,
stuff
yes,
for
but
our
it's
kids.
on your phone. But if it's on your phone has the Kindle Reader.
And the Kindle app.
So you can just get it through your Kindle.
Right.
Or you could get it through your Nook app, depending on which one you prefer.
Got it.
So,
Now, when you have this book, you can upload it yourself. It's rather simple. You can upload it yourself onto Amazon, onto Barnes & Noble. You not only upload the file, you upload the cover art. You put all the information, you know, what would go on your back cover usually, the information about the author, reviews that you want to have. You can do all that. You set the price. On Amazon right now, between the price of $2.99 and $9.99 is where you earn a 70% royalty.
ooh,
Below $2.99 is a 30% royalty, and above $9.99 is a 30% royalty. So the sweet spot definitely, and where Amazon wants to push people, is clearly $2.99 to $9.99. Now I can tell you I have titles up that range from 99 cents to $9.99. The $9.99 books are the really labor-intensive and truly unique projects. The soap opera project that I mentioned, because that has interviews with over 40 people, and the Worldwide Dessert Contest, the children's book, because it's basically a full children's book and a CD. Those are at $9.99. I have my mysteries up at $2.99, a romance title up at $2.99, and I have an excerpt, which is a shorter version, where people can sort of see what an enhanced ebook is, up at 99 cents. And here's what I can tell you about pricing. Yes, the $9.99 titles move a little bit slower, but the money that you make on them is so much more that I think for the truly special titles, something that really took a lot of work to build and is unique, and you can't get another romance title or another mystery title, it's worth it. I can also tell you that the $2.99 titles sell no worse than the 99-cent ones, and the money that you make on them is much better. So I keep the 99-cent excerpt up just because really it is a teaser, not even a full book. The other titles I have up at $2.99, and that price point doesn't seem to be a problem. Kindle has just launched what they call their Kindle Direct publishing, not Kindle Direct, the Kindle Lending program, where what you can do is if you have a book up on Amazon and you make it exclusive to Amazon for 90 days, during that 90-day period, customers who have the Amazon Prime account can borrow it for free. It's a lending library. You then do earn a royalty on it. What you can also do during those 90 days, you have 5 days, which you can use either together or separately, to put your book up for free. The idea is to get your book up in front of as many people as possible. It's especially beneficial if you have a series and you can put up something like the first book up. What I can tell you is it's just started a month ago. I tried it with 2 days. I got several thousand downloads for free, and subsequent sales of all my other titles went up. So my initial first attempt, and I'll still do it again because I have 3 more days left. I only did it on 2. So just from that first dry run that I've done, I definitely say that it's worth it. Especially again in my case where it's the excerpt that I put up for free, and then I have the series to go with it. Now, you must be exclusive, which means at the same time that book cannot be up on Barnes & Noble. I can tell you right now that as a rule, Kindle sales are better than Barnes & Noble sales, but you never know. I have one title that's doing better on Barnes & Noble, and I cannot tell you what. It's just is. There's also international sales, which you can put in your American, your dollar price point, and they will pretty much convert it for you. You can set your own price if you'd like to do it in the euro or anything else, but I find it easier to just let them set it. But you have that as well. And I see some sales in England. I see some sales in France. I mean, they're lower, but it's there. Yes. Now, the sad part is if your book is sold in a market that does not have an Amazon account, such as, I believe that's England, Spain, Italy, France, and Germany are the only countries where Amazon has a deal with. For some reason, I have one book that does well in the Philippines. Go figure. But there you only earn a 30% royalty. That's very sad. The first time I saw it on my statement, I was running around going, this isn't right, but then I actually read it. But once again, this is something that I always say to writers who ask me about putting this up, self-publishing your own work on electronically. I say if it's something that you've already written, if it's not something you're planning to write or going to write, something that you've already written, and you have the rights to it, there is no reason not to. Even if you make $5 a month, that's $5 a month you didn't have before. Even if you do no marketing, no promotion, even if you do nothing but put it up there, there is nothing to lose. The worst thing that will happen is nothing. The best thing that will happen is something. So if you already have a book that's been published, that's been edited, that's good to go, there is nothing to lose by putting it up electronically. Now, when it comes to an enhanced title, which is one of the things that we do, I was actually just talking to a potential partner the other day, and I said, just because something can be enhanced doesn't necessarily mean that it should be. It's a fun toy. We love it. But if your book, your story will not be made better by the additional elements, if they'll just be distractions, you really have to think about whether it's worthwhile to do it. Like the projects that I've taken on, as I said, figure skating mysteries with real figure skating in them. A children's book that has its own fun musical score that goes along with it. We also put the words at the bottom so kids can read along. I mean, Scott's a teacher in addition to what he does, so we're very big on education, and that's fun, that's different, that serves a purpose. If it's just putting something there for the sake of putting it there, you can do it, and maybe it will have a hook, but I don't know if that'll make it a better product, so that's also something to think about. So think about what might make your work better. I mean, one of the things that we do is we never cookie cutter any title. When someone comes to me, and I've said to people, you know, I really don't think this is something that should be enhanced because there isn't something that would make it better, and we try to do everything just a little bit different. So think about your own work, and I'm happy to discuss it with individually with people. I have actually a mailing list right here of people who like to come put their emails in, and you can be informed and we can be in touch. To talk through each idea individually, because each idea really should be approached individually. What can I add? Enhance, add. How can I make this better? So that's sort of my little pitch about that. And the final part, as I promised, is the marketing and the PR. Now, I'm a big believer, I happen to love marketing and PR in the sense that I just see it as a challenge. It's just something fun to do. So definitely when you have an enhancement, it gives you a news hook to your book. Another mystery is a wonderful thing, but it's not going to get as much coverage as maybe saying first ever police procedural to include autopsy pictures. Don't know if you'd buy it, but it's a hook. You know, some people I'm sure would. That it just, for one thing, it gives you an automatic PR. So I'm a big fan about that. Another thing that's really great is if you partner with someone, and the way that our partnerships work is, we don't spend any money up front, but we don't take any money up front. Everything is a profit split. So if you're partnering with someone who has an investment in selling your book, you have another person out there or a company selling your book for you. Like we work with Ice Theater of New York, they send it out to their list. If you partner with a museum, not only might you have the rights to their images, but they have an incentive to help sell your work. So whenever you can get a partnership through enhancements, that's a great way to bring it in. Otherwise, I always say publicize anything that you can about the book, even whether it's peripheral. I'm not a big fan of being the story, but I can be the story, just in the sense, like, for instance, I was born in the former Soviet Union, so I do pitches to Russian language newspapers, and I do that as a story. We are an interracial family. I have written articles for Interracial Family magazines. We're also an interfaith family. I have written articles for Interfaith magazines, as well as anything you can think of. So think of selling yourself in the nicest way possible. Think about what you can do to promote, especially in how it pertains to your book. Like if you are an art restorer writing a book where the hero is an art restorer, there's your hook. If you are Polish and you're writing a book that takes place in the Polish community, there's your hook. Anything, dig deep, see what you can find and get it out there, because people really are looking for content and they're looking for a new hook on an old story. And the fact is, a book is an old story, no matter how much. I mean, you should see our house. We actually have a storage space because we cannot fit all of our books. This is not a metaphor, this is a fact. We have a storage space for all of our books. We love books, but a book is not a news story. An enhanced ebook that's the first one to feature autopsy pictures is a story. And that's something that I want people to really, really think about.
Apart from the video aspect, do you also continue to publish print versions of these books that you're doing in
You know, that is something that I would like to do, because I haven't done it yet, but we were just talking a while ago. I'd like to take all my titles and I like to put them up as not enhanced versions, just to see if there's people who are being sort of intimidated when they see the word enhanced. So that's actually the next project I'd like to run. I suspect that's true, because I expect people see enhanced multimedia edition and they become scared and they don't know what it is. I work with a publicist in the fall.
You get murdered at the end.
Yeah. And there's no hand reach at that point. And one of the things we talked about is we're still in the stage where we're educating the public about what an enhanced multimedia book is. The fact is, we're still in the stage where we're educating the public about what an ebook is. People are still not quite sure what an electronic book is, where you can read it, what you can do with it. So we're so much at the starting line right now that we have no idea what's going to happen. We're not even just talking about combining books and pictures. We're really talking about a completely new art form. We're talking about the fact that storytelling will need to be told in a different way. And people are going to come up with ideas that we right now just simply don't know. It's sort of when people started movies, nobody thought to add sound to them. So we are very much at the starting line.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're pioneers, are you?
We hope so. No, very, very much. I mean, we're very, very excited about the possibilities. As I said, my background is both publishing and television, so it's such a natural fit. But this is something completely different. There's no one yet to say, this is how it should be done because this is the way it's been done. There's no it's been done, which is incredibly terrifying and incredibly freeing at the same time. You will not be wrong. Anything that you create you will not be wrong, because there is no right and there is no wrong, and it's absolutely exciting, and you can tell this story any way you want to. For instance, I have one title, a romance title that I did, which took place where intercalary chapters, and that one chapter took in the present, one chapter took place in the past, a relatively normal literary device. What I'm going to do electronically is I'm going to give you a choice. You can either read it linearly, or you can read it with the chapter in the past. That's another way to tell a story. I'm putting it in the hands of the readers. I'm going to do another series, which based on what I did for Procter & Gamble, where I have people vote at the end of a chapter to say where they would like it to go, and it becomes interactive. It's all new. Every idea is, I wouldn't say every idea is a good one, but every idea should certainly be explored, because there's no bad idea at this point.
I wonder, and you put either images or videos in your ebook. If you use, you know, on TV or a movie, there's an image and then it fades, then you go into the story, like in a movie. I wonder if you use it as a fade, where an image will appear and then it'll dissolve, and then you read the text. You ever do something like that?
Currently, the ebook formats don't allow you to do that. It may be possible in a year or two. Basically, when you see somebody do that on the web, like where you hit on a picture and then it goes black and then the picture comes up, that uses what they call JavaScript or programming language.
Right.
And right now, JavaScript isn't enabled in ebooks. If it was, then basically every ebook can be an app, and then it would be pretty awesome. But I'm obviously that's something I'm waiting for. Yes, but I think he's talking about you have the picture and then it sort of fades away and then the text is underneath of it.
In movies, you actually have the concept is like a director's cut, and then occasionally there's an anniversary version that's released on different things like that. So let's suppose you do a version of the book, you know, and then the technology marches forward, and you want to re-release the book with all this other stuff. What's the fair way, expected way? Like, so you have people who bought it like 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're doing another version. What's
the way people are doing it now is, again, everybody's still making this up as they go along, so there's no format. Right. Some people have just said, you know, this is the 2010 version. You know, as simple as that. Like with the textbook, you know, textbooks get updated or nonfiction. Some people have actually done books that when you buy it, you have access to any changes that get made. I mean, if you want to talk about the technical of that, but it's complicated. He doesn't want to like it.
It's something. I have a hard time talking about things that I've only thought about and I haven't tested. I'm a big believer in testing. But theoretically, what you should be able to do at least with Kindle Direct Publishing, you can update your book online. So in other words, I found a spelling error. You get rid of that copy, you upload a new one. Any time a person with a Kindle, they could basically delete it off their device and they can re-download it. So theoretically, they should be able to get automatic updates without having to pay extra for it. I haven't tested that and what's the limit to that. But theoretically, that should be totally doable.
Yeah, just think about what it means for nonfiction. I mean, we've been focusing more on fiction just because that's what we've been doing. But for those of you who write nonfiction, think about it. Time moves on, things change. You could do this. A nonfiction book pretty much becomes obsolete the day you hit the end and send it into the publisher, much less 2 years later when it's printed. Think about the ability to, it happens, you can add to it, you can change to it. New information comes up, you can add to it. Textbooks, non-fiction books.
Yeah, I just want to know the difference between an e-book and a Kindle. I have a book out there that was published 2 years ago, and I don't know what direction I should go, e-book or Kindle. It's a small book, it's about 49 pages.
No, it's the same thing. A Kindle is just a device for reading an ebook on.
Yes.
But when you create an ebook, it can be read on a Kindle, it can be read on an iPad, it can be read on a phone. It's not limited.
Oh, I see. So if I go Kindle, it's okay.
Yeah, if you put it up on Amazon,
yes.
it will be read on any Kindle device or app. If you put it up on Barnes & Noble, and you can do both, you don't need to
Any
choose.
restrictions about rights? I'm the author.
Well,
who has the rights?
Right now, your publisher has the rights. You need to get your rights back from the publisher.
And how do I do that? By writing you a letter?
You need to write them a formal letter saying, there's particular verbiage, but it basically comes down to, I am so-and-so, this is my book, here is the ISBN number, it was released on such and such a date. As you are no longer printing it, I am asking for a reversion of rights back. Now, they might come back and say, we're still printing it, at which point you cannot put your rights back. But there's also some contracts that say they have to sell a minimum number of copies per year. You really need to read your contract. It's impossible to say.
Actually, I have a twofold question that dovetails into what he just asked. I understood you to say that Amazon seems to be more profitable than Nook at this point in time, although Nook has such a great campaign in terms of selling it. That having been said, when you're suppose you're negotiating a contract and you want to go into enhanced publishing that a publishing company may not, whether large or small, may not be that interested in, can you work a contract that would allow for you to sort of own the rights if you own both, if you copyright the text and you own the images? Is there a way of working simultaneously within the ebook and sort of
you would have to get that spelled out. Everything is so individual.
So specific.
Like for instance, with my first one, with one of the skating mysteries, I could do up to 25% of the book without getting the rights back from the publisher, which is how I ended up with that 99-cent excerpt to begin with. But you have to read every contract. There's no boilerplate.
Yeah, that's something you definitely want to go over with your agent. If your agent is your friend, they'll well, the honest fact is you need to educate your agent too, because in many ways you're at this point, it's like, well, should I have a writer's agent or should I have a television producer agent? You know, what am I doing? I'm doing video, I'm doing books. Who should be my agent? And so the agent needs to step up their game and realize, oh, we have to start understanding about video rights, audio rights, all sorts of things that as a writer you didn't have to worry about, but as a television producer, which you're basically becoming, you need to know.
So do I understand then for a basic Kindle reader, anyone with basic readers, you can embed a sound file, so when you go to a next chapter, if you want a musical interlude, you have music playing when the chapter opens, something like that?
Unfortunately, no. It's something within the technological capability of it, but they haven't made the software able to do that. So just for people who haven't necessarily seen them, just wanted to show the difference between the Kindle Reader and the Kindle Fire. So with the Kindle Reader, don't be thrown off by the large size, it's just a case. It's actually this tiny little thing here, okay? This is what your ebooks look like. Turn the baby on. My case has a nice little light to it, so I can read it at night. But this is basically it. This is your text. Obviously, it could have black and white picture because it's a black and white screen. That's it. Alrighty. If you link to something on the web, it does have a web browser that'll go out there, but it's not going to be able to play the audio. It's not going to be able to play the music. Mainly because they've decided to keep that information proprietary. Because they, on the Kindle, they also sell audiobooks through audible.com, which they purchased a few years ago. And so they want to keep that information proprietary to themselves.
So the children's book you did with the score, how did that work?
You can do it on the Kindle Fire. You can do it on your iPad through the Kindle app. You can do it on your phone. You can do it on your laptop. You can do it on your desktop. You just can't do it on the $79 Kindle.
Right. And so this is why actually Amazon released the Kindle Fire. Though is because they want to have a device where you can now have your color pictures, you can now play your audio files, you can now play your video files. Okay? So once you have the Kindle Fire, you can have the link, it'll go and open up the web browser. I was actually playing around with it a little bit earlier. Murder on Ice. We go here, we hit the button here. Oh wait, I forgot. We don't have
no
Wi-Fi.
I showed them on the iPad. They told them they had to believe me.
Oh, okay. And then it would basically go to my webpage where it would have the video and the video would play.
It's actually, and it'll look. This is the iPad. It'll look different on the iPad, but it's the same text. Like here, this is what it looks like on the iPad. That's what it looks like on the Kindle Fire.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm really big about getting the devices, because one of the things that you're going to be building up, and realize you're going to have fans, all right? Unfortunately, writing's no longer a cool thing you could just do all by yourself, scribble out a manuscript, and then basically send to a publisher and get money back. No, to be a writer now means you're going to be out there, you're going to have fans, people who want to know about you. They're going to email you and they're going to say, well, when I read it, this didn't work. So you're going to have to do a little bit of tech support, you know, and they're
the tech support.
no, they take the money and they run. But the thing is, the fact is you don't have to do tech support. The fact is Amazon does not give you a direct link to your sales. In other words, Amazon basically says you sold 10 books. They don't say you sold these 10 books to these 10 people. So those people have to actively come to you. You have to have a web page that says, hey, contact me about the book, join my mailing list and all those things. You know, and then let them come to you. You know, it's very rare. You know, sometimes unusually it's just as simple as say, oh, just read it on your computer and watch the video there. You know.
Or use your Dropbox. That's the most common one. Look for it. I can't find it. Look for it in your Dropbox. Oh, there it is. So
yeah.
There's a lot.
Well, that's when you're dealing with reviewers, because she does a lot of promotion where she talks to reviewers of sites, and obviously you can't expect a reviewer of your site to spend $10 for your book. So one thing you learn how to do is to basically email them a copy of the book, and you have to explain them how they can get it onto their device without paying for it. Yes. Sorry.
I mean, she had
Cookbooks. I have some cookbooks that I can get the rights back to. How do those translate?
I can actually show you cookbooks. I can actually show you one. It's on the iBooks, but it's Here's the thing. Right now, people understand nonfiction cookbooks, exercise books, things like that very, very well, because that actually makes perfect sense. Like, I can show you here. This one is easy appetizer recipes. I had nothing to do with it, so I'm not promoting it in any way. I just wanted to show you. You know, they can actually have the pictures. They can go and you can click a button and watch somebody do a demo. Like if you don't know what julienne means, you can show them what julienne means, or parse, or anything else. So cookbooks actually do quite well on the electronically, because that's something that people get. Cookbooks and exercise books, people understand why you need to see something for it.
Yes.
Now, the thing I need to know, with the enhanced book, what is it exactly you're embedding in the video? Do you tell the story to a certain point and then the video is taking over from where you left off? Or are you adding something that's going around what's going on in that particular chapter?
Yes. What we're doing now is
the answer is yes.
To everything.
One of the things I've been learning more and more about sort of the history of musicals. Okay? 100 years ago when they had musicals, you sort of had Gilbert and Sullivan. You basically had the play would go, actually not Gilbert and Sullivan, sorry. Most musicals would be you would sing and then the story would go on. You would pause the story and then you would sing. Then all of a sudden they had musicals where it's like they're singing but the story's continuing while they're singing. It's all up to you. You're developing the rules for this medium. You know, just like, you know, when MTV was first started with music videos. You know, they first started with people sitting there. Then over time, they started building stories around it. They had different way of cutting it, different things of doing with the sounds. It's all experimental. And so, ideally, you could come up with something that's, you know, really awesome and new. At this particular point, because of technical issues, and one of the things I learned from working in the web for over a decade is you don't want something to be incomplete if, let's say, the flash doesn't play on your website, because I know you guys go on your iPads and you go to a shopping site and all of a sudden you can't see the demo of the thing because the flash isn't playing. So what you want to do is have some sort of option just in case the technology is not working in its optimal configuration. So for now, that's what I would say to do. But, I mean, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit.
Regarding the Kindle formats, is it the same format for the Kindle and the Kindle Fire?
Yes.
It's just that the one device can play the video.
Exactly.
So if that's what we have to say, we would be happy to answer any more questions if they come up. As I said, I have a mailing list here. We'd love to have your email, and that way we can be in touch. And if you have any specific questions,
Yeah.
can get back to. Here. Let me just
Is this
page.
similar to podcasting, like NPR would have a story, and then the either video or the sound to it? Let's say the enhanced ebook would be similar to podcasting. You'd have the story like NPR, National
Yes,
Public
like,
Radio.
Like they might have a written story, and
Yes.
then they have that would be a short form version of it.
But if you notice that, they'll actually have sort of two different ones. A lot of times they'll have a video. Sometimes they'll have the transcript of the video.
Yes.
Sometimes they'll have the video, which is an enhancement to the story. So there's content in the video that you don't get. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's what you want to do with it.
Right, exactly. As we keep stressing, there is no right answer for how to do. We can tell you how to do a book technically, but creatively, it's all up to everybody else. There's certainly, and it's wonderful because a movie or a play, everybody knows well, it's 3-act structure, and whenever anybody does something different, it could either work or not. But the fact is, this is up to you. Tell your story in any way that you feel fit.
About rights, if you publish a book with your own video, your own photographs, your own interviews, are those protected?
As long as you're sure that you own all the rights. Like, for instance, if you're taking a picture, it's not only that you took the picture, do you have the right to what's in the picture?
Right. And that is especially a question about interviews.
I'm sorry, I haven't heard you hear you.
I especially asking about interviews. If you have an interview with someone, you have to get a release from that person.
Here's what I would tell you from many, many years of working in TV. In theory, yes, but no. It's one of those things where if you did, and the person was aware it was an interview. I always save all my tapes where I start by saying this is an interview for such and such, and so I have it. And in theory, that should be enough, as long as you made it clear and you can prove that they knew this was an interview and that you didn't put a tape recorder under the table, and they knew what it was for. So it's not like you told them it was an interview for Family Circle and then it ended up in Penthouse.
Right.
That kind. Well, that's the kind of thing people might get upset about.
What are the legal ramifications of trying to embed, let's say, a music file? Let's say if it's something, a song by Miles Davis or something that might be germane to my story, and I want to embed that. Do I have to go to either Columbia and get
Yes. If you want to embed it, yes. If you want to link to it, no. That's the key. That's the key difference. And again, as of today, HTML code is not copyright infringement. This could change.
It's
like a citation. Yeah, it's like a citation.
Yeah, but what about if you only want to do an excerpt? Fair use comes into play then.
Fair use comes into play. You better be an expert in it. That's what I say. Yes, in theory, and if you're doing it, then you say yes, it's academic. Yes, I'm creative. I mean, I've read fair use backwards and forwards. So there's 5 things to fair use, but I think it's better not to.
But since Scott was saying that you can't play sound on the Kindle, the $79 one, so having a link or having it embedded for that particular model wouldn't make a difference, right? It's only if you're going to do something.
Correct.
One of the other.
Correct.
But why would you have a link that you wouldn't be able to play?
No, she's saying if you're on this piece of hardware.
Oh,
but the thing is, when you do that though, you just put a little thing. It's like, oh, if you were reading this on your phone, it actually, the link, if you go to another page, that's your page, you can basically have it say, oh, if you're not hearing this right now, you need to listen to this on your iPhone or on your computer. Because the Kindle actually will load up a web page. It actually does have a web browser built into the device.
Right, because he's talking about if you use Miles Davis, but what about if you're embedding something, a song you wrote yourself?
That's fine, as long as you have a right.
But you still couldn't hear it on the Kindle.
Right, you still couldn't hear it. That's not illegal, that's a technical issue.
Right. But the thing is, it's not going to be all music, and the fact is a large number of people are going to be reading them on these devices, they're going to be reading them on iPads, they're going to be reading them on their phones. And so, go for it. It's perfectly fine to have a little bit of disclaimer. There's actually a way you can actually put in what they call alternative text in a part that doesn't play, and then it'll actually display, this sound file needs a Kindle Fire.
So, tell us about your business. I mean, what services will you provide to us?
what we do is, for no money up front or spend up. No, what we're basically in the process of doing is we do partnerships. We partner with people who have books that have been previously published that they have gotten the rights back to. We partner with people who have original content, like say skating videos or a web series, and we find a way, or we work on a way, we develop a way to create unique, enhanced ebooks that can then be marketed on either Kindle or on Barnes & Noble. We work with writers and we work with content producers. And content producers can be filmmakers, they can be musicians, they can be people who have something that could benefit from being turned into an enhanced ebook. It's not like a musician and we just put up a track list of their songs and we sell them on Kindle. The idea is to really create a third, the sum is going to be greater than the parts. That's what we work on, and that's what AlinaAdamsMedia does.
And then you take a percentage of
Yes,
the royalties?
that's how it works. So it's no money up front. What we do is we built it, we put it up, we participate in the marketing. Obviously, we want the author to be a part of it as well, but we mostly send out to reviewers and that sort of thing, and that's what we do, and then we do it.
And where are you based?
Right here in New York. 20 blocks north.
I mean, it sounds to me that a number of the authors that I know, in the union, would benefit from if you help them find partners who have video and imagery that would enhance their book. I know a horror writer, for example, whose book might be enhanced with some, screams.
Did you own the rights to?
But he would need, or a writer might need, as I said, a partner for the enhanced book, or someone who can, design those or build those. So it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity for people to expand. I know another gentleman here, Charles, has a book that's been published in many languages, nonfiction. And there's definitely national imagery that would be just great for your book. But, where's the writer going to find you? Well, if you can find them
That's the idea. I mean, I know some.
What's so funny about it is ideas just pop up like this. When you said, oh, here's this book published in different languages. Well, you can enhance it by saying, okay, I'm going to take this piece of literature or nonfiction and I'm going to sell it to, Spanish classes. How? Because as an enhanced book, I could basically have one sentence of English followed one sentence of Spanish. Then I could do it again, have one sentence of English, one sentence of French.
That's exactly what each project
anything, anything can happen. The possibilities are just, you just wish you had more time in the day.
You too have an amazing story. Talking about getting your story out. This should New York Times,
Do you know anyone?
Wall Street Journal. This should be you're paving the way for the future. Shouldn't this be out there?
It should.
Well, that's our goal. We're building it up slowly, organically. We're making the partnerships. We're doing the work. Every ebook you make stays there forever.
That's the other thing. For those of us who know, 6 weeks in the bookstore and then out.
So when people hear your name, they no longer go to Amazon and basically say available from these sellers, and you don't get your 10 cents from that book being sold by a used bookstore. No, now they can buy it directly from you, and you can take your 70% cut. And at the same time, provide it at a lower cost. The fact is, when Mr. Ellish had his worldwide dessert contest, he self-published it already. But it cost $18 for it to be print on demand. For half that price, people now get the entire book, color illustrations, plus
a completely original score.
Plus an original score. It's fabulous, the possibility.
And we're all writers, but the fact is I suspect all of us as writers are also readers. And as readers, the price point is dropping. It might not be so great for writers per se, but it's fantastic for readers, the kind of stuff that you get.
Now, you said about linking the video to the book, like if you wanted to read it.
Mm-hmm.
So you would design something on your website because the link would not necessarily be seen by people visiting your site.
Correct.
Because you don't want somebody going there and seeing the video and they're going, well, why should I buy the book when I can just go ahead and look at it right here?
Correct. I don't have it password protected, but I don't link to them either. So basically, people are finding the link.
They're
through
just
the book.
floating in space.
And the fact is, if people are searching for you, trying to look at your free video for your book, you can't get a better PR than that. If people want to steal your stuff, that means there's people who are willing to buy it. You know, if people aren't willing to steal your stuff, that means they're not willing to buy it.
Anybody else?
Do you, I don't know how realistic, will you answer the question? I don't know how realistic this is, but do you work or can you envision yourself working with someone who has a contract with a publisher?
Yes, that's actually something that we've talked, things didn't quite pan out, but one of the things is a possibility of us providing that service.
Right.
If someone already has a contract with the publisher and the publisher is interested in creating an enhanced book out of the product that they own, then definitely working on it. In that case, we would ask for money up front. Mazel tov. Good luck.
Yeah, glad it was water.
Well, as long as there's no blood. we're
Yeah,
good.
so you okay?
Oh yeah, it's just wet.
Okay.
Water, no blood.
So that's the, is that a money maker? Publishing, I mean, art publishing
No.
companies going.
Here's what I can tell you my own personal story with the Skating Mysteries. I took, I gave them the proposal for the enhanced ebooks, which they wouldn't even have to build. We would build ourselves.
Thank you.
My editor, the woman who edited the skating books, was very excited about it. She wanted to do it. She took it higher up in her company, and they kiboshed it. Because the idea is, well, again, this falls into the realm of opinion, but the fact is publishers are terrified. Their entire livelihood is about to go away, to all intents and purposes. And they're covering their ears and they're saying, la la la, I can't hear anything. It's a fad like the talkies. Well, you know, it's just, in my...
That's bizarre to me that you had said that they seem to have, that the larger publishing companies have more direct access.
They do, but if you look,
But yet they're not
if
really
you go to
using it.
Amazon, type in multimedia enhanced, you'll get a handful from Random House, a handful from maybe 5 or 6. And what they're doing is also, in my opinion, not very interesting. Like they do an enhanced version of Pat Conroy's latest novel. I don't remember what it's called. Their only enhancement is an interview with Pat Conroy. That's nice, but that's not really an enhancement to the story. They're treating it like DVD extras, rather than actually really being a part of the stories. Now, on the other hand, what might be very exciting is NBC Television just announced last week they're getting into the enhanced ebook business in that they have access to their entire NBC library, news, sports, science fiction off the Sci-Fi Channel, all of their creative. They're going to start a branch of enhanced ebooks. So I suspect we might see more enhanced ebooks coming out of media companies than out of traditional publishing.
The site I was mentioning to you, and I'll send it to you, it's Oxford. And apparently they're selling paper books, and you get a password, and there's web support with video and audio.
Oh, that's a great
And a
idea.
few of them are not password protected. So well, you'll see why. I'll send it to you.
Oh, thank
but
you.
most of them are password protected. And they're not all audio videos. Some of them are like really scans and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I can show you, for instance, this is something that iBooks did, which is closer to what, again, this is my opinion of what I find interesting. They did a version of, right here. No, they did a version of The Wizard of Oz, where they were able to come up with, they found not the 1939 Judy Garland version, which we all know, but there's apparently a silent version in 1905 that they were able to get. And that they put in, and that's, again, that's more from the nonfiction, but at least they're trying to. Or Jude Devereaux, who's a romance writer, they actually experimented. She was one of the first ones to go up with. And so here you have it. This one actually can't play because it's embedded. So you've got your video. And they kind of used it to set the mood. It takes place on a southern plantation, and so you can see some ruins. They're heading in the right direction. This is what they have so far. So again, while it's not an integral part of the story, it's, as you can see, it's a mood setter. So people are trying, but it's very, very slow. And certainly, as with pretty much anything else, like with music or anything else, the independents are ahead of the curve because they're not huge, giant corporations trying to move an iceberg.
Can you make the video full screen on that sort of device? Make it bigger.
Sure, why not?
Sure, why not?
Yep, that should do it.
Yeah.
Rotate it, rotate it.
So, yeah.
So there you have your video.
Again, that's, you know, mood setting. Here's a bridge, south.
So publishers are losing out. That's clear. Agents. No need for an agent.
You know, some of my best friends are agents, and literally, so I feel bad, but kind of, yeah. I mean, in a way, they more serve, like, lawyers, they more serve a legal function. Like, you know, some people are signing contracts directly with Amazon now. You know, Amazon has started their own imprint. They're doing their own science fiction imprint, their own horror, their own mystery, their own literary. But they don't need it. The fact is, Barnes & Noble is threatened because they're running behind Amazon. So, I mean, agents are still, might be good for things like that. But, yes, that's why everyone's in a panic. Publishers are in a panic, agents are in a panic.
But there's going to be the agents who evolve with the times.
Right.
You know,
there's going to be the agents who are going to broker the deals. Interestingly enough, you said, like, if you need to put a book together that requires a writer and an artist and a musician and a photographer, maybe the agents will become more packagers in that respect and make sure that everyone is
and handle the movie rights.
And handle the movie.
I saw not too long ago, Apple did a commercial about, I don't know if you saw this, the Alice in Wonderland, what they did with it. Basically, they took Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland and they put animation around it, so when she fell down the rabbit hole, if you turned the book, she would literally fall down the rabbit hole. I mean,
some children's titles are doing that. Like some children's titles are doing, if you have to trace, for instance, a puzzle, you can do it with your finger in the maze and it will draw, especially for touch screens. So yes, but that's mostly apps. That's not really an enhanced ebook, that's an app. That's really a game in book form, which again is also very exciting, but not precisely what we do, so I can't really speak to it.
Right. Yeah, that's basically software development. And they are allowing, as the ebook formats become more robust, they will allow more and more of that to happen. But at the end of the day, it's still programming, and doing programming is much harder than building a website. So we have certain limitations here. You know, there's a lot of creativity that can happen within these limitations. There's so much we could do with what we already have that's not being done. So I'm perfectly happy to work
If
with
you want
it.
to get in touch with you other than signing up for your web, for your email list, is there an email?
I have a card.
Okay, great.
And yes, and my website is AlinaAdamsMedia.com, so please, you can actually look at there, you can see what kind of titles we have, what we've done in the past, and you can also contact me.
Are you an Adams?
No.
Scott?
No, he's not. I have so many last names. Alina Adams is my pen name, which predates my marriage, which is not my maiden name. Let's go with Alina Adams and Scott.
Enhanced name.